Now to our third senator of the morning, who was at last night's bipartisan dinner at the White House, Senator John Thune of South Dakota.
Did you know the dessert was ice cream and not an egg? Because Joe Manchin thought he was
thought it
biting
was a hard-boiled egg.
Yeah.
Did I know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I kind of figured that out, but it was in the shape of an egg.
Well, you're saying it wasn't that hard for Joe Manchin to figure out if he had looked a little more closely, right?
It was not that complicated, but yeah.
This is not bipartisan.
This is not.
That's right.
And here we go. The bipartisanship has just been blown out of the water. All right, Senator Thune. Joe Manchin telling us that the president said that this tax package you guys are working on isn't going to be a boondoggle for the rich. Not going to be tax cuts for the rich. It's going to be middle-class tax cuts. Going to try to make the corporate tax rate more competitive. What can you tell us about the outlines of what was discussed last night?
Well, they're going to put a blueprint out in a couple of weeks, Joe, but what the president's made it very clear is this has got to be about middle-income taxpayers, and that high-income earners, although they may get some rate reduction, they're going to lose a lot of deductions and therefore probably net come out, with anything without any sort of tax relief. And he indicated, too, that some may end up paying more. But I think the point is the president made it very clear the bill that he wants to sign into law has got to be about cutting taxes for middle-income families in this country and giving the American people a break, many of whom are living paycheck to paycheck.
When you say they're coming out with a blueprint, did you get word from the White House that they actually were going to come out with their own tax package? So it won't be like health care, where they sort of bounce around from one plan to another?
That's what they indicated, that they're working on it right now. They're getting close, and that they're going to have their own ideas to put into the mix. As you know, the House and Senate are already working on our own plans up here, but we're anxious to see what the administration puts forward. But they've clearly been giving a lot of thought to how the interaction between the various provisions in the tax code and the individual side and the business side. And we all know we have to get more competitive in the global marketplace, and that one of the ways you do that, and of course the outcome of all this hopefully is greater economic growth, which leads to better paying jobs and higher wages. And in order to do that, we've got to get our tax rate where it's competitive with our competitors around the world.
Okay, Jonathan Lemire.
Senator Jonathan Lemire with the Associated Press. The president in recent weeks has made some forays into bipartisanship, but yet in Congress, on the Republican leadership, has been moving up along a tax plan that seems to be strictly on party lines. How do you bridge that divide? Did the president talk about that last night? Did he stress the need to work with Senator Schumer on issues like this?
I think that he is very interested, particularly given the experience with health care, in trying to see what the traffic will bear in terms of support from Democrats on tax reform. And so I think part of the purpose last night was to hear out these Democrats, what kind of a tax reform bill could they support? And these are the three probably most likely to be for a bill. But yeah, I think the president realizes that, doing big things, doing consequential things, is better if you have broad bipartisan support. I think Leader McConnell obviously has to make the trains move up here, and if you can't get Democrats, then we've got to fall back and use reconciliation. But so you have to be prepared either way, and we will, as we proceed, have a couple of tracks going there. But I think it's important for the president to reach out to Democrats. I commend him for doing it. I thought it was a very constructive meeting last night.
Unlike health care, and I mean this just really objectively, did the president seem engaged with the content of what you were talking about?
On health care?
No, last night.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, right, yeah. No, I think he is, Mika. I think this is an issue that he's in his sort of wheelhouse, so to speak, and I think he's very comfortable talking about the tax code. I think he understands it, obviously, from the business side, and he's got people around him, Steve Mnuchin, Gary Cohn, others who really get this stuff, and so I think he's getting very good input. And he was very engaged in the discussion on this. And he still, obviously, wants to get a result on health care as well, and we covered that ground a little bit last night, too.
Senator Thune, Willie Geist, after a summer where the president went after many of your colleagues during the recess, Mitch McConnell, Jeff Flake, now Bob Corker, and even threatened to support primaries against some of your colleagues in the Senate. What is the temperature right now in the United States Senate about President Trump among your Republican colleagues? Are they frustrated with him? Are they angry at them? Are they willing to work with him? Do they feel like they've lost him? What are you all feeling about the White House right now?
I think it's very much, Willie, the next fight. Everybody realizes that what's past is past. And, somebody once said in politics there are no eternal friends and no eternal enemies, only temporary alliances. And And I think that in this case, we know that to get the things done that we want to get done on our agenda, we have to have the president. The president recognizes that he's got to have Republicans in Congress. Again, I credit him for reaching out to Democrats, but in the end, we have to deliver the votes to get his agenda through. And so even though there are things in the past that individual colleagues here, things that have been said, that stuff I think is all water under the bridge when it comes to the agenda and, looking forward to what we can do to improve the lives of the American people. And much of that starts with the things that we're talking about this morning: better jobs, higher wages, faster growth in the economy, and that's all ties back to tax reform and why we need to do it.
You know, on the other side of it, the White House has said, both on the record and off over the last several weeks, that they said, you know what, these guys had 7 years and now 7-8 months of Trump administration to repeal and replace Obamacare. The president trusted that that would get done when he won the White House and Republicans controlled both houses of Congress. It didn't get done, so he said, forget those guys. I'm calling, as he calls them, Chuck and Nancy to get things done in Washington. What do you make of that posture the president seems to have taken, that you guys couldn't get things done, so he's going to the other side of the aisle?
Well, I think in the near term, what happened last week, for example, on the debt limit, the spending bill, and hurricane relief, was the president recognizing at a time of national crisis we need to be unified, and I think that his attempt to reach out to Democrats simply was that. But frankly, I mean, I think that he needs to reach out to Democrats on all these big issues and hopefully generate some bipartisan support. I think, again, that in order to get things across the finish line here in Washington, he's going to need to work with Republican leadership. And, clearly the healthcare experience is one that kind of shapes the way we all look at this. We knew that was going to be hard, but we have to get our act together up here. We've got to be able to deliver the votes, and that means we've got to keep Republicans on the team and hopefully some right-thinking Democrats that can be part of that coalition.
All right, Senator John Thune, thank you so much. Always great talking to you.
You too, Joe.
Thanks. Senator.